Why do we fall in love with people who don't even really match us? And why, even after all the pain, do we stay hooked on the image we built of them? There's something behind love that nobody ever tells us. Something ancient, deep, and hidden. You're not loved for what you show on the surface. You're loved for what you represent in the unconscious mind of the one who sees you. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the underground of the human psyche to uncover the two true reasons why someone might fall for you through the lens of Carl Jung's teachings. Get ready to understand that love isn't a meeting between two bodies. It's a mirror between two fractured souls. And every intense relationship you've ever lived through had a secret purpose: to reveal who you truly are. This video isn't just about love. It's about you. So take a deep breath and come with me. They don't love you. They love what you awaken in them. We live surrounded by this dreamy, sugar-coated idea that says, just be yourself and someone will love you for it. But Carl Jung whispers something deeper and far more unsettling. People don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with what you represent in their unconscious. You are a symbol, an archetypal figure, a lost key to someone else's inner labyrinth. When someone tells you they love you, what they're really saying is, I love how you make me feel. It's about the fire you reignite in them, the emptiness you fill, the mirror you unknowingly hold up to their soul. You might embody the nurturing mother, the absent father, the rebel they never dared to become. And that's where the magic begins, not for who you truly are, but for the character you play without even realizing it. It's like stepping onto a stage without knowing it, reading a script written by someone else's traumas, memories, and longings. You attract their gaze not because of your truth, but because of the fantasy you awaken inside them. And the more unconscious they are, the stronger that idealization becomes, and the more devastating the disappointment that follows. That's why love can sometimes vanish out of nowhere, because it was never solid. It was a reflection of an unconscious hunger for reunion, healing, or wholeness. But that reflection cannot sustain a real relationship. And when the haze of projection finally lifts, you're left with the uneasy realization that you were never truly seen. Have you ever felt like you were being loved for something that wasn't really you? Like you were playing a role you never chose? That is the first wound of unconscious love. Realizing the other person never saw your soul. They only used your image as a mirror. Until that wound is healed, we'll stay trapped in relationships that hide us more than they reveal us. Because relationships don't begin when two people meet. They begin when two projections collide. What you don't recognize in yourself, you end up idealizing in someone else. Projection is a silent yet devastating psychic mechanism. According to Jung, everything we repress, out of pain, fear, or shame, stays alive within us. But since we can't bear to see it in ourselves, we unconsciously place it onto others, and that's what we often call love, a desperate attempt to reconnect with a lost part of ourselves disguised as passion. You are loved so many times because you represent something the other person has repressed. Maybe you symbolize the spontaneity they once suffocated, the tenderness they forgot, the courage they were punished for. And so you become the altar of someone else's projections, the place where they lay down their dreams, their wounds, and their unfinished stories. At first, it feels magical. There's an intensity that burns, a sense of deep familiarity. But with time, the weight of idealization begins to crack, because no real human being can hold up a perfect image forever. The truth starts to break through, and the love, built on projection, turns into frustration. Yet there is a hidden beauty in this process. Projection is poisonous when unconscious, but it can become medicine when understood, because it shows with symbolic precision what still needs to be integrated within ourselves. The other person is a mirror, yes, but also a map. Have you ever idealized someone only to realize it was all about you in the end? Projection is a bridge. If crossed with awareness, it leads to healing. If denied, it leads to the abyss. The choice is always ours. to keep falling in love with shadows, or to start loving ourselves as a whole. The other person is not the savior of your soul. They are the messenger of the wounds you haven't yet dared to see. We fall in love with our lost soul. Carl Jung revealed that within each of us lives a hidden psychic figure, our inner opposite. In men, this image is feminine, the anima. In women, it is masculine, the animus. These are living archetypes, shaped by our experiences, memories, wounds, and ideals. And so often, it's these inner figures we fall in love with, not the person standing before us, but the soul they remind us of. When someone touches this deep inner image, it feels almost mystical. It's as if we found a missing part of ourselves that had been gone our whole lives. But in truth, that absence lives inside us, and the other person is only the symbolic alarm clock waking up a sleeping memory. You are loved then, because you reflect someone's inner opposite. Maybe they see in you sweetness, sensitivity, a bridge to their soul. Maybe she sees in you steadiness, direction, instinct. But what's truly being loved is the chance to finally integrate that inner polarity that has always been waiting on the sidelines. This is the root of many overwhelming, unforgettable passions. They feel eternal, because they're not really about the present. They're about something the unconscious has longed for over ages. But for that same reason, they can be fragile. Because when the other person fails to match the idealized image of the anima or animus, the whole castle collapses. Have you ever felt like someone awakened something far bigger than attraction, something ancient, almost mythical? These figures are invitations. Invitations to integrate what is missing, to heal what has been divided. When we deny this, we keep searching outside of ourselves forever. When we accept it, we discover that loving another person is actually a path that leads us back home, to ourselves. Maybe the deepest love isn't for another at all, but for the lost piece of our soul they help us remember. We love in others what we deny in ourselves. There is a part of you that was never accepted, not even by you. A trait you hid just to be loved, a truth you silenced just to survive. That rejected, forgotten, silenced part is what Jung called the shadow. And ironically, it's exactly what often makes you irresistible to someone else. You are loved not for the light you show, but for the darkness you hint at. For the intensity the other person is too afraid to live. For the authenticity they had to repress. For the wildness, the vulnerability, the freedom they fear to face. It's your shadow, raw, alive, and honest, that calls their soul to awaken. But there's a risk. The shadow attracts, but it also terrifies. It fascinates, but it threatens. Because by loving you, they get closer to everything they have avoided within themselves. That's why so many intense loves turn into self-sabotage. To love your shadow is to confront their own, and not everyone is ready for that kind of mirror. Have you ever noticed how sometimes people pull away exactly when you show your rawest truth? It's because in that moment, you stop being an image and become a mirror. And not everyone can handle the reflection. Have you ever been rejected for showing your deepest truth, and yet that was the very thing that drew someone to you? The shadow is ambiguous. It attracts in order to heal, but it also tests. If seen with awareness, it can turn love into a ritual of individuation. But if denied, it creates chaotic relationships, where someone will idealize you one moment and despise you the next. Being loved for your shadow is dangerous, but it's also the beginning of true intimacy. You didn't find love. You found a call to grow. A lot of people believe that the purpose of a relationship is happiness, but Jung invites us to a deeper and more challenging perspective. Relationships don't exist to complete us, but to confront us with everything still unhealed inside us. They are portals, living mirrors that reveal the soul and the wound. Every person you ever loved deeply, even those who hurt you, was a disguised teacher. A reflection of your own needs, your projections, your unconscious archetypes. And even when everything fell apart, something remained. A scar that, if touched with awareness, can transform into wisdom. Intense relationships aren't mistakes. They're catalysts. They push us out of our comfort zone. They set the soul on fire. They accelerate processes that might have taken lifetimes to unfold. They expose patterns, reveal repetitions, shine a light on our shadows. And if you have the courage to look, every heartbreak becomes an initiation. Yes, it's painful, but it's real. Because to love deeply is to step onto a spiritual path. And every broken heart is a door opening, an opportunity for integration, for growth, for individuation. Have you ever felt that a relationship, no matter how much it hurt, was the spark for your greatest transformation? The soul doesn't seek stability. It seeks wholeness. And that's why true love isn't the kind that avoids pain. It's the kind that takes you all the way through it, so you can find yourself on the other side of the abyss. Relationships are mirrors, but they are also keys. The question is, do you have the courage to turn them? The pain of truth is the birth of real love. There comes a moment in every deep relationship when the spell breaks. The idealized image shatters, the mirror cracks, and what's left is the truth. For many, this feels like the end, but for Jung, it's the beginning, because only after disillusionment can you love, not the image, but the real human being standing in front of you. Disillusionment hurts because it tears away the myth, the fantasy of being saved, the hope that someone will complete us without effort, but it also sets us free. It pulls us out of the dream and plants us firmly in the present, where love is no longer projection, but a choice. No longer neediness, but presence. No longer ideal, but reality. When you see the other person clearly, with their traumas, their limits, their shadows, and their light, and still choose to stay, that's when you truly begin to love. And when you are seen in the same way, that's when you are finally loved not for the role you play, but for the soul you carry. This transition is rare. It takes awareness, maturity, and courage. Many people run from it. Others repeat the same old patterns. But those who stay transform. And transform the way they live, the way they relate, the way they exist in the world. Have you ever gone through a disillusionment so deep it made you see everything, even yourself, with new eyes? Disillusionment doesn't kill love. It kills the illusion. And what is born in its place can be calmer, more real, more solid. True love doesn't begin with enchantment. It begins when the fantasy ends. Are you willing to love, even after seeing the truth? You were searching for love, but what you found were mirrors. Every gaze that admired you reflected a hidden part of themselves, a projection, a desire, a wound. And now, maybe you understand. It wasn't really you they loved. It was what you made come alive inside them. The two reasons you are loved, projection and the shadow, aren't a sentence. They're an invitation. An invitation to wake up from the romantic dream and step into the sacred reality of self-awareness. To stop craving to be seen and start seeing yourself. To stop begging for love and start integrating your own soul. Carl Jung taught us that every true encounter demands crossing the unconscious, diving into our inner images, our personal myths, the scripts we never chose but still follow. And only when we become conscious of them can we truly love and be loved fully. So before you go searching for the next love, search for yourself. Before you want to be understood, understand. Before you give yourself to another, recognize who, inside of you, is asking to be rescued. If this video spoke to you, drop a comment below. I choose to love with awareness. Share this with someone who needs to understand why they love and why they suffer. And if you still feel there's something left unsaid, unresolved, stay right here. Because in the next video, we'll go even deeper. Why do we stay attached to those who are already gone? And why do certain absences never leave us?